we would jump on those jump mats. We would test our vertical. And when I first showed up, I think I jumped like a 31. And then we went through the first full off season, all that stuff. And I had gained weight. I was up to like 285 and I jumped like a 38. And I was like, damn, this is awesome. And as soon as that happened, I headed to the field house because I was about to go dunk some basketballs because I could dunk a basketball when I showed up. And now I thought, damn, dude, you added 6 inches to your vertical. I'm going to go hit some like windmills now. I'm going to be flying. And I got there and I couldn't dunk the fucking basketball. And it blew my mind. It was like I had lost something in the way that you approach and rotate with the ball. And like I just didn't jump the same way. I could jump standing still off 2 feet, straight up. I could do that. But as soon as you added just another little athletic element that now you have to run up at the hoop with the ball. And I always dunked off 1 foot. And it was like, man, I feel weird jumping off 1 foot now. Why does this feel so weird? Part of it is you've gained 40 pounds, whatever. But it was just a real light bulb moment for me that you can't just test a standing vertical jump and expect your athletes to start jumping better. Not that it's bad to increase your standing vertical jump, but I had lost something along the way there. I always found that interesting. It was one of the experiences that I'll never forget and that had me kind of scratching my head in terms of like, all right, how would there be a way where I could achieve those numbers or maybe a little bit less, but also increase my ability to jump off of 1 foot or do something a little bit more athletic? And, when I was at Regina, one of the best things I ever did was we had a huge weight room, an awesome facility. We dragged in a couple of adjustable basketball hoops. And instead of, when it was time to, record your jumps, or even when we were working just regular jumps in the middle of the workout, we did a lot of dunking. And I let my athletes sort of use that to set their PR. So they would all have a max dunk for height. Even the linemen, if you can dunk on 8-foot hoop, that's your PR. If you can get 8 foot 1 inch and dunk that, then you're jumping higher. And when we started doing that, we went from having 1 kid in the school that could dunk to just 1 year of that program, and we were up to 8. And a lot of it was just how do you go at the ball? How do you go at the hoop too? Like, how do you handle the ball? A lot of kids can't do that at all. And obviously the basketball players took to it the most, but I'm still at a point where it's like, all right, you show me this big football guy and I want to know if he can dunk a basketball. I don't necessarily want to know his vertical jump. I want to know if he can dunk a basketball. You show me a big 300-pound guy that can throw down a basketball, that's impressive. And to me, that's a better measuring stick just because it's a little bit more athletic and, there's just more parts to it. So, I'm not a basketball player, but I think that there's something to be said for that. And then you look at some of these, like, man, I don't know if you ever watched like those professional dunkers, but dude, they are some of the best athletes on the planet. It's crazy what they do. Yeah. And you ask them how they work out, and they're like, I just like go to the gym and dunk for a couple hours. Like, all right, that's a great stimulus, obviously. So I'm always, fascinated by that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we were talking about originally.
Yeah,
But
that's like a great tangent. And like, I'm a meathead. I love the weight room, but like that opens your eyes, something like dunking where it's like a combination of forces. It's vertical, but also like horizontal and vertical and rotational if it's one leg. And that's just, it's hard to
super
simulate in the weight
rotational with
room.
ball too, right? And if you watch these guys dunk a ball or you watch Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan, there's these huge swooping movements with the ball and they're rotating a lot. What you don't see is a guy hold the ball in the middle and run up to the hoop. You know what I mean? It's like it forces you to rotate. It forces you to coil your core. And, for me, that was also another thing where I was like, man, we're not replicating these patterns in any of our lifts. And that was big for me. It's like, okay, if every single lift involves your truck bracing in neutral, then the more you lift, the more you're going to be stuck in neutral. So I love lifting, and I wanted to build strength, explosive strength. And that's where the landmine thing came from, is that, all right, can I layer a rotational pattern into a split jerk? So instead of just pushing the bar, now my trunk is working and I'm using a punching mechanic. I'm actually rotating and side bending at the same time. And the landmine's been really great for me because it's opened the door to the fact that there's nothing wrong with layering these patterns into your strength training. And it's really allowed me, I think, to develop a much more balanced approach for athletes or anybody who's just trying to feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think golf is a good example too. Like in college, I was 235 and pretty strong at that time, and we had a great college at Northwestern College, a great S&C program, but it was still it's weight room based. It's a lot of bracing, and I still couldn't hit the golf ball very far, even though I was big and strong at that time, and now I'm 50 pounds lighter, 185, and not nearly as strong, but it's more of that
You're alternate.
rotational
Yeah.
and
And it's,
knowing
yeah.
how to use your spine, and it's cool. Like I can hit the ball 20 yards farther now, and just being able to move better, and it's cool to see just how that transfers. Just working back from the sport, you can apply that to any sport, and just apply that to your own training.
Yeah, for sure. And especially, and man, for me, like I said, I picked two sports that, when I was done, I was done. So, all, and because you do this stuff, you teach them to brace their core in neutral, and you do every single exercise in neutral, and you do pull off presses, and you resist rotation. But then we also did so much athletic stuff too. You do your competitive drills, you sprint, you push the prowler, you play football, you do all these things that require all this mobility, but it's not directly addressed in the weight room. And then you get done playing football and you just start living in the weight room. And, and that's when I got right into powerlifting. I was good at it and I loved that. And so I got into it hard and realized that like I was stiffening up. I started to get that strength coach waddle and it was hard to get up the stairs. And it was like, man, I'm not moving my spine enough, essentially. Um, and you get to a point where when your spine's not in neutral, you don't feel comfortable. You don't feel strong. Um, you don't, you're not as good in a fight. You're not as good in a wrestling match. It's one of the things that my stuff is popular with fighters, and I think a big reason for that is that they get into some of these coiled positions and it feels like fighting. It feels like those patterns that they need when it's time to fight are actually there, and they're lifting weights. And it's hard to find a better way to I think replicate that than using the landmine. So that's why we use it so much.